Sin City, you know, the rumors about what Robert's next project were numerous. I heard everything from Godzilla to Madman. The one thing I had not heard was Frank Miller's Sin City.
That's one of the most fun parts, is working with Steve Joyner, getting the props together, because she's been my prop guy since Dusk Till Dawn, I think.
When Robert contacted me first about the job, he said, "You're gonna love it. The storyboards are completely done for every frame." I'm like, "Robert, what are you talking about? How can the storyboards be done? There's 600 pages." He said, "I've got the 3 books. Just take them, look through it. We're gonna shoot it exactly like that."
Since Frank draws his props with such meticulous detail, I let him go at it with Steve. Hey, go visit the prop shop. I usually get to enjoy this on every movie. I'm gonna let you have that experience this time.
This whole production's been astounding to me because I've seen with such expertise and dedication aimed at pages I drew with no intention of having them translated in any other medium. I mean, when I drew this stuff, it was going to be a comic book. And that was it. That was its final fate.
The thing that's very interesting about Frank is his drawings are so exacting and so specific. An example, we talked with him about a specific knife that he uses, which is a Buckmaster knife. I looked at the storyboards, and I brought the storyboards to some of the shops here in town, and they ID'd it right away. They said, "This is a Buckmaster knife. It's no longer available. You can only get it through a collector." So I was able to get some help that way, and we actually got 1 Buckmaster knife and 1 replica. We then took that and made our own knife blade. We wanted to modify it to make it look really mean and nasty.
He draws based on life, but everything has a Basin City twist to it. It's Frank's own world, so it's slightly unreal.
So he would go in and get to figure out what the props were going to look like and match them to his drawings, and I think he just ended up taking most of the props out of there by the end as souvenirs to his house.
We did manufacture pretty much everything. There's probably not a single off-the-shelf prop in the movie.
But here we have an example, obviously, of the beginnings of design for props that we make. These are some illustrations. This is the knife from the Yellow Bastard. This is a weapon for Mijo that we designed, and basically consists of 20 different molded and machined parts. Very labor-intensive, but something we were really proud of, and it looks really cool.
Basically, we've been going through the storyboards and finding out what elements need to be created for on-set, and those things that we have to design going with the rest of the book. We just go create a few designs, get them approved, and then take these drawings and make a 3D model of them. And these 3D models are what we use to create on the milling machines, which are molded and then painted and used in props for the movie.
This is actually the real knife, and this is actually the fake knife, and there's really not much difference.
It's stunning, but it's also, it's like seeing, it's in a lot of ways, this movie is quite literally like having a dream come true.
Mostly Sin City's about booze, broads, and guns. Running throughout the 3 stories, we tie it together with Katie's Club Pecos, the bar where all the characters sort of mix and mingle. And in that bar is Nancy. One of the stories does center on Nancy as one of the lead characters. And we did a very, very cool Western rig double Black Hawk pistol for her.
It's loaded and it works. Taken it to the range a couple of times. Kicks like a mule.
We took one of the Teamster roping experts, a guy named Joe Yanis here, who's one of our driver captains, is an expert trick roper, and he worked with her for several days and taught her how to rope for real. So she's actually, when you see Jessica Alba up there, she's doing it, and she's very good at it.
I roped you.
In Big Fat Kill, things that we made for Nick, Australian bullwhip, he had this amazing silver knife that he threatens Nancy with.
Here we have the finished product of one of the props we were talking about. This is the knife for the Yellow Bastard. This milling machine cuts this out in 3D. This is the blade that we designed. This will now go into the mold shop where Marcus and Brandon are, and they will mold this and do castings. They can do all the scenic work, and within a couple of days have beautiful props for us. We are in the infamous mold shop.
Basically what our job is to make stuff that doesn't exist or to duplicate stuff that already does. And typically when we get something that's purchased, we basically sort of make a box like you see back here, and it gets filled with silicone. And basically we pull two halves. And each side, as it's closed, forms a complete piece. We then pour plastic in this little hole here, and this is typically what comes out.
So we have a lot of guns that Frank's drawn in the book. Because of the 50s nature of Frank's drawings, the cops, the characters in the books use a lot of revolvers. They use World War II Colt pistols, very classical lines. Frank contributed to some of the RoboCop films, and he drew in the RoboCop pistol in some of the scenes. So we had to go to Gibbons Entertainment of Burbank and find the manufacturer of the RoboCop guns and bring them in for Frank, and he was amazed to see them after so many years back in action. But again, we're matching the story panels exactly to the movie. So what he's drawn, we're bringing to life.
This is basically silicone glass. As you can see, it looks like the real thing. Even its fragmentation, the pattern on it's great. It's a good example. Most of it, there was a car scene where I think Marv jumps through the front window, and when he does that, they basically have a whole bunch of this stuff loaded into an air cannon, and they just blast it at the guys inside the car. And this just makes sure that everybody's safe, nobody gets hurt, still looks real.
In Big Fat Kill, we have a character named Miho, who's a female Asian martial artist.
You know, it's really important to Frank and to Robert that I look, you know, every inch as fierce as Miho's supposed to look and as people expect her to be.
This right here is the mold for the staff for Miho. We finished pouring the material and we're ready to pull it out, so I'm gonna go ahead and start.
She has this staff with this half-moon blade on it that Frank, came up with, just created. And it's so deadly because it has these, 3 different blades on it, and she uses that in one of the scenes.
Nice. And a finished staff we have.
In fact, if you look closely, Miho's swords are Crazy 88 swords, actually from Quentin's garage.
Frank's favorite character is the character of Miho, his Japanese samurai deadly chick girl. All right, well, he didn't know it, but I found out from Steve, the samurai swords she's using are Hattori Hanzo swords. They borrowed them out of my garage. All right, the 2 bamboo things that she has, that's from Kill Bill. The 2 samurai swords are from Kill Bill. And not only from the Kill, they were in my garage. You know, Frank is fetishistically in love with Miho. And I go, you realize, don't you, that Miho uses Hattori Hanzo swords? And he goes, really? And I'm describing, I go, well, of course she uses Hattori Hanzo swords. I spent a whole movie saying that, he's the greatest swords maker in the world. Miho wouldn't mess around with anything, but she wouldn't slice a sandwich without a Hattori Hanzo blade.
When we shot Kill Bill, we made 118 different styles of sword. We spent $65,000 making the swords, the fighting swords, the sheaths, just the sword budget alone. All of these were made in Japan at a martial arts facility in Siki City, which is a city famous for its knife steel. And we've had a lot of collateral from those swords. We got Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 out of it, and now we have Sin City, so. Anything that was an artistic decision, Robert would simply say, ask Frank what this is.
This is a storyboard reference from The Big Fat Kill. This is our character Miho once again. She has a vast array of weapons. I went to the archery shop with this storyboard, and the gentleman at the archery shop looked at this and immediately said that this is a Mongolian bow.
They look at a
drawing I did in a few fast brush strokes and find out that it's a Mongolian bow that Miho's using, and they bring it in.
We couldn't find that kind of bow in the country. As a result, I did gain access to a bow maker. This bow was sent to us from Hungary, a Hungarian bow maker. Took him about 3 weeks to make this.
So she flips through the air holding the bow that I drew, but is really also a real functioning bow from a different part of the world. Right down to the arrowheads, a lot of which I made up, and the throwing stars and such. I'm now seeing these in 3 dimensions. I'll tell you, I'm gonna walk away from this production with a lot of souvenirs.
I think people that are fans of Frank Miller's will see him in every shot, even though this is a Rodriguez movie.